I do think broken communication is largely the problem for everything and everyone right now. But I firmly believe that we start where we are. So I like to start in my family and in my company. Brene Brown talks a lot about empathy and sympathy as being what she calls near enemies, because sympathy makes you feel bad for someone, but it doesn't change anything that you do. Empathy means that you understand where someone is coming from and it drives you to action. I would add in a lot of empathy. So we have to start interweaving a level of empathy into what we're doing inside of technology if we want it to make the impact on humanity that it's supposed to. Otherwise, you leave a lot of empty husks of people and create a whole bunch of worthless tech.
Welcome to the Feria Tech Cast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Brittany Hansen, a tech entrepreneur with special interests in marketing, sustainability, strategy, and global responsibility. She is a wife and a mom, a Jiu-Jitsu grappler, and a lover of all things automotive and fashion related. So, Brittany, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on today.
All right, Brittany. So, let's start at the beginning. You are a tech founder, a mom of about four, a jiu-jitsu practitioner. So, tell us, how does this unique blend of experiences shape your approach to leadership and innovation?
You know, I love that question. Being a mom taught me a lot about business. The biggest thing was really how to work with lots of different people. So my two oldest children both have genetic disorders, rare genetic disorders, and then they're both gifted autistics, which meant that from the time they were very young, we did 5 times a week therapy and all kinds of treatments. I was consistently in their schools and consistently working with different people. So that time taught me a lot about advocacy. And then 13 years into being a stay at home mom, my boys were very self reliant at that point. And my co founder and I had an idea for a business that we decided the world needed. We had an answer that we felt like it was important for the world. With that, jujitsu has taught me a significant amount about strategy. I am the smallest person on our competitive team, and there is something very powerful about the ability to know you are an underdog in a fight, know that it doesn't look promising for you, and be able to strategize your way out of getting hurt. It's something I've really grown to love, and it's something I'm so passionate about. If anybody has ever thought about doing jujitsu, absolutely do it. It will teach you so much about your life. And beyond that, it's a really fantastic community, and it's a really good time. I always have a great time.
Oh, well, that sounds amazing. So, Brittany, you've built a SaaS company without venture capital. So, what's one biggest advantage you found in bootstrapping your business instead of taking outside funding?
That was a really intentional choice that we made from the beginning. We knew, because our idea was around information delivery and information ownership, we knew if we brought in someone larger, they would want us to scale in the way that most platforms do, which is we own your data, we own all of the information that comes on the platform. We knew we did not want to do that from the beginning. So we have only taken on private investors and bootstrapped. And what that has allowed us to do so far is to maintain control over our company and over the values that started our business. Now, since then, we have had some interest from venture capital firms that have our same ideals in mind. Something like that could happen in the future, but it will never happen in a way that removes our ability to keep data and information with the people who rightfully own it, and not with our corporation. It's been a real journey. It's been hard to run a company this way, but it's something we're very dedicated to and we're really proud of.
Fantastic. So, A lot of people see luxury and sustainability as opposites. So, in your view, how can high-end brands actually lead the way in creating sustainable products and practices?
That is a fantastic question. And right now, I don't know how many people are really watching the luxury market. It's seeing crazy swings. Many of the fashion houses that we are well acquainted with are having problems staying consistent. They have no choice, in my opinion, at this point, but to become very ecologically and ethically minded. Um, that said, that can't be done without some changing of the way that things are done, but I am so inspired by the changes that I'm already seeing. Companies like, I believe it's Hermes, are championing mushroom leather, which is much more sustainable than traditional leather. Um, there's many companies out there who are experimenting with textiles that can be made from, um recycled materials, and there's something to be said about that too, because if that's not mindfully done, what happens is that the materials that they're creating and the process that they're using to create those materials is just as environmentally unfriendly as creating something new. So the mindfulness that goes behind this kind of innovation is really meaningful. Um, when we think of luxury, we often think of money. And that's why I think luxury is particularly well suited for this kind of innovation. Um, what happens is luxury brands are really like a lab. Luxury gets to decide what's in next season, who's carrying it, what colors, how we're doing things, and then everybody else sort of adopts what's happening up here. And that's been a cultural mindset. But what happens when they start experimenting with values and with different kinds of practices is there's enough money up here for them to try something different and fail. And the impact to them is relatively small. Whereas for companies like solopreneurs or people who are just starting, a failure like that can be catastrophic. So when luxury starts experimenting with environmentally friendly practices, they find what works and that everybody else gets to adopt that. That's the kind of innovation that gets me excited about luxury. It's not the next handbag. It's not the next plunging neckline or really beautiful evening gown. Those things are fun, but that's not the meaning behind luxury. What excites me most is the innovative mindset, the art behind things, and the technology that they're adopting to change the world. And I think if we looked in with a lot of consumers, that's what's exciting them right now too. We know that other companies can create the same handbag at a fraction of a cost. So what we're excited about is the value and the name behind what we're purchasing.
Well, that's a fantastic viewpoint. So, there's quite a debate about sustainability. So, in your view, is it truly about saving the planet, or has it become mostly a political agenda? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
Uh, in my view, there was a lot that was political agenda up until pretty recently. We heard a lot of companies come out with their ESG plans, their DEI plans. Here's how we're going to change the planet. Here's what we're going to bring diversified voices to the table. And then, as soon as political tides shifted, a lot of those same companies abandoned everything that they said they believed in. Uh, for something that was easier or cost less or um, really just that what that showed is that many of those companies didn't really believe in the changes that they made. So the only reason for them to have done that is to fit in with what they thought customers were doing or what political leaders and legislation was forcing them to do at the time. What I think is being left as that tide recedes is the businesses and the minds that actually believed in what they were doing. As that tide recedes, it leaves places for people who actually want to change the way that things are done. So many companies said, we want to change our impact on the planet. And what that meant was that they purchased carbon credits. Not a horrible start. It's not a horrible thing to do, but they didn't actually change any of their business practices. They just used their money to leverage what they were doing. As those companies, like I said, are kind of falling off and deciding they're not interested in that, these other companies are doing truly innovative things to try and save the planet. And I have seen really incredible steps in that direction. And a lot of it is experimental. Some of it we don't know. There's been a fungus that's discovered that eats oil. There's been a lot of thought into how we can use the motion, literally the motion of the ocean, to trap energy and create something similar to solar farms or wind farms, but much different because we're tackling what's in the ocean, the waves and the tides, things that are happening regardless, and much more counted upon potentially than wind, which can be very it's either there or it's not. So you're hoping to charge batteries, right? It is my belief that this kind of thing shows us which companies actually will stand by what they say they do and that will openly reward those companies with our business and our abilities. And it sounds weird, but even if we can't support a business by buying in, we can support a business by evangelizing for them. We can support them by um, carrying their values and their interests forward. So if you find a company that you think these are the kinds of people I would want to be associated with, don't be shy to talk about what they're doing. That's your power as a consumer to either purchase from them or talk about what they're doing. That's how we show support for real things. The environment is a hotbed topic for politics kind of regardless. Most of us though know that we can't continue doing what we're doing to our planet and expect that everything will be fine for our grandchildren. So my call to action so often with people is invest in the businesses that are trying to make a difference, even if it's small. Reward those differences, because otherwise, as soon as we get someone different in office, all of the ideas change again, and everyone runs off in a different direction.
Well, that's such an insightful response there, Brittany. So let's dive into tech for a bit, for a while. So you are a woman in tech. So from your experience, what unique strengths do women bring to tech leadership that the industry desperately needs right now?
In the United States, women influence about 80% of the purchases that are made. Tech is a hot item. People are consistently buying tech, but by and large, women don't have a seat at leadership tables inside of technology. That likely means that the voice for the person who's purchasing most of what you're doing isn't at your table, and that's damaging. Along with this comes the idea, just so everyone knows, yes, I am a woman in tech. My co founder, also a woman in tech. We don't want anyone to purchase our software because we're women. We want you to purchase our software because it's the best software that is available. That said, something has to be done about the dis the disproportionate numbers of women and men in technology. It's not just that men are more interested in technology. Less than 2% of female founders in tech receive funding. There are less women in tech now in the United States than there was in 1985. Those numbers are shocking. I can see you thinking about that. This just came up at a Microsoft Women in Tech conference, where she was talking about how there's so much fewer women in tech, especially
Wow,
leadership now than
wow,
there was in the
that's really
80s.
surprising.
Yeah, it is. It's some of the reasons stated were that women step out of their jobs about the time they would be stepping into leadership roles to have families now. Instead of coming in after their families are raised, we wait to have a family until we're in our late 30s or early 40s, which is about the time you'd be stepping into a leadership role in a corporation, and we step out because there's not room for a woman to do both, to be an excellent mother and homekeeper as well as a leader. In many countries, that's not the case, but it does. continue to be a problem in the United States. Women need to be a part of the conversation in the same way that any other minority needs to be a part of conversations. We get real innovation when we invite different voices to the table, different perspectives, different thoughts, different values. That's where real innovation happens. It's not clones of the same person sitting around a table and parroting the same beliefs at each other. It's when we have different mindsets, different thoughts that really new ideas start coming out. And that's when we start changing the world. Isn't that the stuff we're most excited about, like, as a human race? The real things, the new things, not just, like, a shinier version of something old?
Interesting, interesting. See, still on the topic of tech. So I'd like to ask, as a leader in tech, how do you balance respecting tradition with the needs to constantly innovate and disrupt?
That is a good question and one that I haven't had for a while. So, I'm trying to think about it. So, people need by and large, people enjoy being able to predict what's coming next on some level. Um, we have to balance that need for people to understand what we're doing, to feel spoken to and heard, also with the ability to sort of innately know what people need to help them be successful and providing that to them. Apple used to be famous for this, for saying things like the customer doesn't totally know what they want. I would agree with that just slightly. They know what they want, but typically we don't sit with our customer long enough to really dig down to the depth of their problems. We ask surface level questions, and so they get surface level answers to their deepest problems. Pardon me, to their deepest problems. Um, that doesn't work in the world that we live in now. We have to sit with our customers, with our users, long enough to understand the depth of their issue. And that means having meaningful conversations with them. It does not mean sending out a jot form with 3 questions and a 5-star rating possibility. It means that we're deeply speaking to people. How we balance needs with tradition is by doing, and it's going to sound again like I'm on a soapbox, inviting more voices to the table, legitimately listening and adopting new ideas.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, you live in Idaho, which isn't a traditional tech hub. So, what's something about building the tech company there that actually surprised you?
I love Idaho. I was born and raised here. I left for 5 years and lived in Eastern Idaho, which I don't think counts as a really, extreme pilgrimage. I do travel and I love to travel, but what I love about Idaho, we're kind of nestled snugly in between Silicon Slopes in Utah and Silicon Valley in California. And I've come to affectionately call us the Silicon Bridge. Idaho is uniquely situated to help entrepreneurs. We have a very friendly entrepreneur community here with groups like Innovate Boise and Trailhead and um, the Megatons and the Unstoppables. These are all groups of people who are saying, come to Boise, settle in here, bring your technology, and we're happy to support you. It's warm and friendly here. And because people are used to doing things sort of on their own, I grew up in a family where one side was farmers and one side was ranchers. We are people with deep grit and deep determination, and we're going to make it work. That can be somewhat unique. And I especially love that it happens here in a place that's beautiful. An hour's drive away from me in multiple directions, there's beautiful desert, there's stunning forests, there's metropolitan cities. Everything I need is very close to me. And I love that about here. And I love the community that has really formed around leaders in general, but especially around technology. We're like a little hidden gem in the middle where no one would expect to find it. And I love surprises. So it's perfect.
Amazing. You've said that broken communication is the root of most business struggles. So I'd like to ask, what's one practical thing a leader can do to fix communication within their team?
That's a great question. I do think broken communication is largely the problem for everything and everyone right now. We look at politics, that's an issue. When we look at the stock market and financial issues right now, a lot of that is around broken communication. But I firmly believe that we start where we are. As little Brittany in Idaho, I'm probably not going to fix any global issues tomorrow. So I like to start in my family and in my company. I think we were talking earlier about sitting with people long enough to really understand the depth of their issues. And I think empathy is the way that we do that. Um, Brene Brown talks a lot about empathy and sympathy as being what she calls near enemies because sympathy makes you feel bad for someone, but it doesn't change anything that you do. Empathy means that you understand where someone is coming from and it drives you to action. When we truly communicate with someone, it means that we take the time to understand them and where they're coming from, which creates empathy. And then we use that empathy to create action. That happens inside a company when people feel like they don't have access to a leader, when people feel unheard, when people are entirely unaligned on what the values of a company are or what they're building. Now there's this breakdown. But empathy is the answer to all of that because it means that you're striving to make the connections that will drive deeper conversations and fix things. Action is almost always required. We like to think active listening is a great thing, and it is. It's great if I can listen to someone and make a list as they talk, but if I go then on my way and don't do anything with the information I learned, I've wasted time, I've wasted mental effort, and I've made them feel even less heard than before because I sat with them, heard all their concerns, and then did nothing with it. So I would tell any business leader if you're dealing with lack of alignment, if you're dealing with even something as small as sort of sniping between employees, I guarantee you there's a communication breakdown in your organization. And the best thing that you can do and the best investment of your time is to sit down with your team long enough and ask probing enough questions to really understand the issue and then help them fix it.
Oh, fantastic response there, Brittany. So I like to ask, how is building a company like rolling in Jiu-Jitsu? So what's the most important lesson from the maths that actually applies to entrepreneurship?
That is a super fun question. It's a lot like we were talking about earlier. Everything that happens on the mat is strategic for me. I am not strong enough to throw a 250-pound man off of me. That's never going to happen. In fact, if I try to do something like put him in an armbar or choke him, what happens most often to me is they stand up or they flip their arm and throw me across the room because I'm less than half their weight. So, strategically, it's important to know where I can get leverage, what tiny spaces I can squeeze into, and how I can. It sounds kind of bad, but I was gonna say lull them into security. You have to be kind of tricky to make it work. People have to feel like they're on top. In business, strategic thinking is much the same. We are a still a small business who does global contracts and has global interests. We have multiple times had someone try and do hostile takeovers of our business or try and take our idea and run with it. What has kept us alive is a mix of um, divine protection and strategy. A strategic mind is vitally important to anyone who's in leadership. And I'm not talking about manipulation, I'm talking about true strategy. How do I help everyone come out of this situation a winner? How do I make this really dire circumstance work for everybody? Um, that kind of strategy, it can be hard to keep your mind fresh on that. That's what jujitsu does for me. It keeps me fresh on strategy, reminds me that I'm always working to play the right angles, and that if done right, everybody can win, which sounds weird because in jujitsu, there's only one winner on the mat, but I'm a part of a team. in jiu-jitsu. So on the days I don't do well, I just went to Worlds. I did not do well. My very first match was against the woman who was ranked ninth in the world. I lost my match, but my team won. My team did incredibly well. We went home with a ridiculous amount of medals. Um, and so even when a member of my team loses because we think strategically, we all still win. And I think that's incredibly valuable too in business is that um, one small loss doesn't actually mean you've lost. It's a setback. How are you going to come back from it? How are you going to support each other so that this feels like a win to everybody?
Amazing. So, moving on, for the students and young professionals in our audience, what's one piece of blunt advice that you'd give to someone who wants to make real impact in tech and sustainability today?
Um, Being very blunt for a second, make sure that your idea actually answers somebody's question. Um, There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there right now, and I admire all of them. It takes a lot of hard work to get here. There are also a lot of ideas hitting the market that answer questions nobody had and nobody cares about. Even if it's a mildly useful product, my favorite product that I keep talking about right now, I don't know if anybody's seen it, is the banana slicer on Amazon. It's this little plastic piece that fits over a banana and cuts it all into perfect pieces for you. Why anyone needs that, I really can't understand. There are 1,000 ways to eat a banana. I do not need another tool in my kitchen cupboard that makes it easier for me to cut my banana into perfectly symmetrical slices. Who made that? What team said this feels like a really great idea? This is answering a really difficult problem that humanity is facing right now. So, when you have an idea, proof it with people that matter. And ChatGPT is a great place to start. Don't end there. We all know ChatGPT is an incredible cheerleader, and it will tell you that a screen door on a submarine is a beautiful idea and you definitely need to do it. And then it will feel no remorse as it watches you drown in the ocean because of the screen door on your submarine. Start with ChatGPT and then branch out to people who matter. Talk to people within an industry and ask them if you're correct about their pain points. Ask them if you really understand what they're doing. This kind of curiosity will bring you a level of success um, that you never imagined before. It will enhance all of your ideas. And almost without exception, when I talk to real innovators inside my industry, I hear this. I have a dear friend that I adore. I was just talking about this too while we were in Vegas. He said, I talk to 6 people a day. One is always an industry leader and one's always a customer so that I really understand what I'm doing. So when you have a good idea, great. Take it to somebody else who can prove for you that it's a good idea because you thinking it's a good idea is great. Everyone else thinking it's a good idea means you have a business proposition.
Wow, that's an amazing perspective, Brittany. So I'd like to ask if you could change one thing about the tech industry's culture today, what would it be?
I would take out, well, that's not true. I would add in a lot of empathy. I know I talked about it already. I do think it's something that's sometimes missing from technology. We tend to think of tech as um, it just needs to get faster. It just needs to get better. It just needs to get. What we're developing is technology that's not well rounded because there's no empathy or very little empathy sort of laced into this entire vertical of the world. We want speed, we want better. Over and over and over again. It doesn't matter if your engineers have to sleep on the floor for 3 hours a night so they can get up and get something done to fit the timeline. It doesn't matter if it's not exactly what your customers want. If it's an improvement, we push forward with it. That kind of neglect will never breed something good long term. So we have to start interweaving a level of empathy into what we're doing inside of technology if we want it to make the impact on humanity that it's supposed to. Otherwise, you leave a lot of empty husks of people and create a whole bunch of worthless tech.
Great. So looking at the future, what's one trend in sustainable technology that you're most excited about?
There are so many things right now. Um, As strange as it sounds, and this is kind of returning to the earlier conversation, I'm excited to watch who sticks around as the tides continue to recede, as it becomes more and more inviting to let go of the things that we said we believe in. I'm excited to see who stays and thrives and what incredible things come from that. I follow so many people on LinkedIn mostly who are trying to create the answers to humanity's biggest problems. And there's real answers starting to come from that. The future is a lot brighter than we think it is. And I'm excited to watch all of the innovation that's coming out. And that means, more than mushroom leather, which is pretty cool. It also means traceability. It means the ability for people to really understand how their purchasing actions influence the planet. Um, and it gives us the opportunity to come together as a community of humans and really talk about what matters to us. I'm so excited to watch that happen.
Great. So, at its core, your work connects technology, sustainability, and leadership. So, I like to know, what does innovation mean to you, and how does it relate to, your work in the context of sustainability, technology, and leadership?
Yeah, and that's a great question because innovation means something different to everyone. For me, innovation is the kind of idea that is big enough that it doesn't belong to one person anymore. It belongs to the world, and it belongs to the world because it's going to change the way that we function. Innovation is truly disruptive because it invited a lot of voices to the table and became bigger than one person's idea. And innovation is a truly beautiful thing. It is the kind of thing that's really, really hard to describe. We've all seen it in our lives, though. We've all seen a product and gone, "Oh my gosh, finally, like, I've been waiting for this thing," or heard a speaker and felt that pounding in our chest like we were resonating on a deeper level with this person because the idea united us in mind and in heart. That's what innovation means. It means bringing big ideas and big excitement to the really big problems that we have in a combined effort to solve things and make humanity better.
That is indeed a great one. Yeah, really interesting. So, finally, for our listeners who want to connect with a leader who is genuinely walking the walk, so where is the best place for people to find you and follow your journey?
Oh, yes, please, please come and talk to me. I'm always excited to connect with people on LinkedIn. I'm Brittany A. Hansen there. If you're interested in our technology, we'd be more than happy to talk to you. We've been in 8 countries over the last 2 years, and our website is vision.com. It's vision with 3 eyes because we see what they don't. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I make a conscious effort to connect with everyone who sends me a message in my inbox. I'd love to talk to you if you're interested in sustainability, if you're interested in information distribution. Uh, let's have a conversation.
Wonderful, Brittany. So, it's been a really great conversation with you, and I am totally excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Ezekiel. It's been lovely chatting with you.
All right. So,